You've seen the names. You've read the emails probably. And I have to tell you, all of this discovery that's happened, all of the confirmation that, yes, these people are in the files, and it's a lot worse than people realize. It really, when it comes down to it, it doesn't make me feel anything. Not shock, not surprise. Because if you're like me, and I know a lot of you are, you've already known this stuff. You've known this stuff for years, and the only thing that changed now is it's on an official government website proving it's real. That you're not crazy, I'm not crazy, none of us are crazy, and all the things we've been saying this whole time are actually real. Now, we all knew it was real. It's not a surprise, like I said, but there's a little detail buried in these emails that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet, and I don't really pay attention to this stuff as much as I probably should because I don't even like talking about this stuff. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me feel good. In fact, it's the opposite, right? Anytime I start looking at this stuff and mm, really giving it some thought, it's depressing, It's just not something I want to immerse myself in. Now, that being said, I did check around some stuff in there and yeah, it does confirm a lot of stuff. But here's the thing. Some people are like, well, the emails, they don't confirm everything because there's some mentions of stuff here and there, but there's no specific details. And the specific details that are there are they're kind of light, right? They're kind of, let's just say, not that controversial, when in fact they really are. But there's a reason for that. There's a reason for why there's not that many specific incriminating details inside of these emails. And a lot of people don't know what that reason is. And I think I found it. So, and I was speculating on this for a while. I was like, what criminal talks about their criminal activities over Gmail? None. I mean, people don't do that. I mean, the only criminals that use Gmail to talk about their criminal activities are, people who will be caught. And they know that because ever since the Snowden revelations, we've known that emails, Hotmail, Gmail, it doesn't matter which mail you use, all the emails that you can use, that anybody uses, they're not secure. They're scanned by the NSA. The same with your phone, your text messages, all these things. There's nothing secure anymore, right? So, what makes you think that somebody on the level of Epstein and crew, billionaires, connected billionaires, who, they roll around with the world's elite, you think that they don't know that Gmail specifically isn't compromised? No, of course they knew that. That's why what I found in these emails, in my opinion, proves that, yeah, what we see in the Gmails is just surface level, and the things that are deeper, we'll never know, ever. And what did I find? Well, let me tell you. So, in one of the emails, Epstein was telling somebody, I think his name was Tom Barrack, which is he's like a political higher up, right? He's connected to presidents. So he was telling this man to go download Signal, the encrypted messaging app. Tom Barrack, or Barrack, however you say it, he responded, we'll download now. So here you have communication on Gmail with Epstein and this man. And Epstein was like, yo, hold on. We're not going to talk anymore here. Go download Signal and then get back to me. And he downloaded it. All right. So this, in my opinion, tells everything that we need to know. It tells that most of the incriminating stuff is on Signal. A man doing what Epstein was doing, pushing people onto a platform that nothing gets saved, nothing could ever get recovered, and nothing could ever get subpoenaed. Well, we already know why. It's not a mystery. So we're never going to see what really happened. We're never going to understand the true depths of it, no matter how many files get released, until those Signal files get released, which they never will, by the way. We're going to be in the dark. So everything in those files, that's the stuff that they were either too lazy to hide or stuff that they deemed inconsequential. They're just crumbs on the table. The real meat, it definitely happened in these Signal conversations that are gone permanently. So again, you and I will never know what was said. You and I will never know the extent of this, but we know, because if you're paying attention, you know that this is not an isolated thing. Epstein did not work in a bubble, and that this isn't just one man, in this generation that's been doing these things. No, None of this is news to you. You've been researching this stuff for years, and you've been probably saying it for years. Everybody called you crazy, right? Everybody said, oh no, this is debunked. The media says it doesn't even exist. What are you doing talking about this? Remember in 2016, that pizza restaurant? You know what I'm talking about. That has become the name that shall not be named on YouTube. That has become the ultimate example of how extreme rhetoric, how extreme false information, misinformation can send somebody over the deep end and target innocent people, right? That's what they say. That's why we can't talk about that anymore, because the man showed up at that place with a weapon like an idiot. And yeah, all the internet conspiracy theorists were blamed for that event because they radicalized this man, right? That's the story. But it turns out these emails prove, right? It proves that you were right. You were right about all of it. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. And these elites, these billionaires, they were interacting with Epstein, doing exactly what we thought they were doing the whole time. And guys, I don't mean just Epstein. I mean all of it. Basically, every conspiracy theory they laughed at you for, the cover-ups, the secret networks, the secret societies, the protected class who operate above the law, every generation. It's all true, all of it. And there's been books written about it. There's been researchers, and there's been people who have traced these lines, these secret societies through the ages. And there's a man named Gary Wayne who wrote a book called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy. Great book. And what he discovered in that is he's been able to trace these networks, just like Epstein, through secret societies, through, specialized, let's just say, heritage, okay? Through the inner circles, through the occultism, through these elites, all the way back through history, around the world, back to ancient Babylon, and most likely even before that during the flood of Noah, okay? The oldest version of human civilization. And yeah, even back then, the same thing was happening. The powerful were doing these unspeakable things, and anybody that spoke up got crushed until the entire earth was corrupted, all of it except for Noah and his family. Until the Lord said, you know what? Enough is enough. We're going to wipe the whole slate clean and start again. But remember, Genesis 6 tells us that the giants, the Nephilim, they were on earth before the flood and after the flood. So somehow their knowledge was perpetuated. Their knowledge was saved. It was stored somehow. Now there's theories. There's theories that the knowledge of the fallen angels from before the flood of Noah during the antediluvian era was stored. It was saved. It was protected because they knew the flood was coming. So what did they do? Well, they built structures like the pyramids and underground cities beneath that where all that stuff was stored, kind of like a spiritual library. And we get into that a lot on this channel, and it's a pretty complicated subject if you're new to it. So let's just leave it at that because that's not what this video is about. Bottom line here is what I'm trying to say is this knowledge, the knowledge that Epstein was operating with, this occult knowledge, this evil knowledge that these billionaires are flaunting in the open, it comes from a different age. It comes from fallen angels. That's literally where it comes from. It comes from the most evil beings that are in open rebellion against God himself. And it can be traced through secret societies all the way through history up until today, because the secret societies never went anywhere. They just infiltrate each other. They change names, they change shapes, they change faces, but the knowledge stays the same. Because evil never dies. Only their names and faces change. So yeah, you can trace this thing, these things that Epstein was doing, these things that these elites were doing, trace it back through history, back to ancient Babylon, through the Romans, through the Knights Templars, through the Freemasons, through whatever groups you want to call. All of these guys are working for the same goal, to keep this secret information away from the public at all costs. It's the same thing. It's the same goals they're working towards. And it's just different eras, different rows, but the same exact playbook, right? This is garbage. It's the trash. And this is what happens when you don't take the garbage out. Okay? Now, yeah, I'm calling these people garbage. I'm calling Epstein garbage. I'm calling the people garbage who did things against these innocent young people. They're garbage. No doubt about that. And when you don't take the garbage out, when you allow the garbage to pile up, what happens? I'm gonna tell you what happens. I'm gonna read you a quick little poem that tells you exactly what happens when you don't take the garbage out. Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout would not take the garbage out. She'd scour the pots and scrape the pans, candied the yams and spiced the hams. And though her daddy would scream and shout, she simply would not take the garbage out. And so it piled up to the ceilings. Coffee grounds, potato peelings, brown bananas, rotten peas, chunks of sour cottage cheese. It filled the can, it covered the floor, it cracked the window and blocked the door, with bacon rinds and chicken bones, drippy ends of ice cream cones, prune pits, peach pits, orange peels, globby glumps of cold oatmeal. Pizza crusts and withered greens, soggy beans and tangerines, crust of black burned butter toast, grisly bits of beefy roast. It raised the roof and broke the wall, greasy napkins, cookie crumbs, globs of gooey bubble gum, cellophane from green bologna, rubbery, blubbery macaroni. Peanut butter caked and dry, curdled milk and crusts of pie. Moldy melons, dried up mustard, eggshells mixed with lemon custard. Cold French fries and rancid meat, yellow lumps of cream of wheat. At last, the garbage reached so high that it finally touched the sky. And all the neighbors moved away, and none of her friends would come to play. And finally, Sarah Cynthia Stout said, "Okay, I'll take the garbage out." But then, of course, it was too late. The garbage reached across the state, from New York to the Golden Gate, and there, in the garbage, did she hate. Poor Sarah met an awful fate that I cannot now relate, because the hour is much too late. But children, remember Sarah and always take the garbage out.
Wow, that was deep.
That was deep, though.
What is he talking about?
The trash is anything that is keeping you from the only thing that matters.
We haven't taken the garbage out. The garbage has piled up. It has gone to the sky. It has crossed the entire country. And now it is too late, because these people are getting away with it. The names in those files: Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, who else? The Ehud Barak from Israel, Elon Musk, Trump himself. They're not the scandal, right? They're the latest roster. They're the newest names on these lists that are thousands of years old. They're the current shift. The old shift, well, it retired. They stepped up. They're working now. And when they retire, somebody else is going to step up to fill their role, because nobody's taking the garbage out. And the garbage will be taken out, by the way. There's no doubt about it. It will happen, but it's not going to happen until basically it piles up so high that there's nothing left but only garbage, just like what happened in the flood of Noah. That's why Jesus said that his return, when he comes back to smite the world, it's going to look like the days of Noah. There's going to be only trash. That's it. Okay? Except there's also going to be the body of Christ, and that's a whole separate discussion, all right? So, anyway, Epstein was just a middle manager. He was just a guy who collected secrets and cashed in on them like poker chips. And when he became a liability, well, he was taken out, supposedly. If you have seen those pictures of him spotted in public, I don't know if that's real. I don't know if it's AI, but it's interesting to say the least, because it does make sense that he's not dead. I have no proof of this. Right now, pictures can't be used as proof because we have AI. Now, there is a way to look at pictures and evaluate the metadata in the picture itself, in the photo, and figure out if it came from a camera or not. Now, I don't know if AI has the possibility of spoofing that. I'm not sure. But all I'm trying to say now is there's a picture of Epstein alive right now. I don't know if it's real. It could be AI. Who knows? Okay. Anyway, the machine, this trash machine, it replaced him. And it's still running. Make no mistake about it. It wasn't shut down. His responsibilities were given to somebody else on some other island, or maybe not an island right now because it's too obvious. And maybe the operations have halted temporarily until people move on, until people forget, until people get distracted with the Super Bowl, because they care so much and they want to watch people play with balls that they just forget about stuff that actually matters. And this is exactly why, by the way, the trash is piled up so high and it's stretched across from New York State to the Golden Gate. Because nobody took the trash out. People were too distracted. People are too distracted with everything else that, to them, that's inconsequential. Oh, these billionaires are doing some shady stuff on an island. Big whoop. I mean, that's really the mindset of most people. Probably not you, but most people for sure. This system that they built, this system of Satanism, of satanic influence and occultism that's been traced through the millennia, it's been up and running since obviously before we were born, and nobody's ever turned it off. Okay, that's why, again, the trash is piled up past the ceiling. So the conspiracy theorists, they were right. Not about some of it, about everything. And here's what should make you sick, because guys, it makes me sick. The files are out. The names are public. And the machine? What's the machine doing? Nothing. It's doing exactly what it always does. Bill Gates goes on television in Australia and was like, hey guys, that's not me. That was Epstein sending an email to himself trying to frame me. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. And people are like, oh, okay, look, he's innocent. The emails are false. Nobody believe it. All right, he's innocent. Jeffrey just wrote those emails to himself. He said it. He regrets hanging out with Jeffrey. Yeah, Bill Gates regrets every minute of it. So, case closed, okay? Let's just move on from that. Bill Gates, he's going to be Bill Gates. Who cares what he did on Epstein Island? Because he denies it. Because Bill Gates is innocent. He's a wonderful man. He wants nothing more than to help humanity with his amazing vaccines and technology, right? Give me a break. Now, watch us let him do it. Watch the American people, watch the general public let him do it. Because there is no backlash. There will be no backlash. Nothing's going to come of this. Nothing will happen. These people will not be punished. Their reputation won't even be smudged because the people are just going to say, oh, yeah, well, he denied it, right? Denial's always been louder than the evidence, right? It always has been. Because people doing these things, they deny it on the microphone, and then they turn around and do the exact same thing that they were denying doing. They're hypocrites. And you have the people in the Trump administration coming out saying, oh, there's not going to be any new charges. There's just two people, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. The whole thing is history. That's it. No charges. Nobody's going to get in trouble. There will be no pushback. That's over. All right? Ignore it, people. The news is out. Look at the files all you want, but nothing will happen. The news will move on, and it already has. If you're watching this, it already has. The files will fade. People they'll remember it. They're going to say, hey, what about those Epstein files? And if you bring it up to somebody, they're going to roll your eyes at you. Well, what about those Epstein files? They want this to become just another thing people are talking about and fade into the distant memory of the past. That's their goal. But here's the thing, guys. What about the people in those files? What about the victims? What about the people who have had terrible things happen to them? And what about those encrypted channels that they used? They want this whole thing to just fade into some distant memory. And that's exactly what's happening. And the people in those files, the names that were named, the ones that were using encrypted channels like Signal to talk about the real things, those people, you know what they're doing right now? They're doing this. Guys, that was close. Woo! Wow. All right. Let's be a little bit more careful next time, but that was close, huh? And they're all high-fiving each other. Yeah, good job. We got away. All right. And if you think that these people don't meet up and smoke cigars at Bohemian Grove or wherever, you're mistaken, because this is exactly what we're talking about. For every email that got released, there are 100 Signal messages, theoretically anyway, Signal conversations that are 100 times worse and darker than anything that was in Gmail, because criminals don't use Gmail to talk about their crimes. They just don't. Their conversations are gone. The ones on Signal we'll never see. And that's it, right? The whole thing is just gone. The news has moved on. Everybody's just moving on with their lives. Nothing's ever going to happen. And look, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is where we are. And where does that leave us? Where does it leave you? Where does it leave me? Because I'll tell you where it leaves me. I sit with this stuff all the time. And it sucks. The honest answer is it leaves me feeling discouraged most of the time. Like the enemy is winning. Like the enemy has won. Like the enemy is the one who is dictating the lives that we live in, is keeping us in this prison planet. It's keeping us occupied with our day-to-day lives. We can't do anything real because our whole goal is trying to survive. It's like the game was rigged, way before I was born. And it was. It's been rigged forever, right? And it's going to be rigged long after I'm gone. So I don't know if you felt it, but that heavy feeling in your chest at like 3 a.m., when you're just thinking about everything, you're thinking about life, you're staring at the ceiling and you're wondering, where is this all going? What is the point of this? Because it seems like no matter how hard we try, no matter how good our intentions are, it doesn't matter. That we don't matter. The only thing that matters is these people who are in power and what their will is, because they're the ones pushing the ball forward. We're just along for the ride. And guys, if you feel this way, you're not being dramatic. You're just seeing things clearly, in my opinion, because that's kind of how it is. And the Bible actually confirms that is true too. And here's where things turn, right? Here's where things turn from darkness to the light. It turns from this bleak darkness of despair and defeatism into hope, into life, because everything changes when you look at it through this perspective, what I'm about to tell you. So most people have been watching this whole thing play out and they're asking the wrong questions. And so have I, honestly. I mean, I always do the same thing. They're asking who, right? Who's behind this? Who's behind this whole thing? Who's been pulling the strings? Who's been on the island? Who's been underneath the island? Who's been sending these signal messages, right? And those names, yeah, they do matter. But there's a reason why this machine of darkness, of evil, has survived so long from ancient Babylon, maybe even before the flood, until today. It's survived through countless wars, through thousands of years, through Egypt, through Rome, through Mesopotamia, through all these places. And that empire has never crumbled. It keeps getting stronger. It keeps rebuilding itself with the lessons it learns, and it builds on top of itself until you get to a point now where the garbage has never been taken out, and we are overflowed with garbage right now. We can't even breathe because all we smell is trash everywhere. Like, it's disgusting. These are not masterminds. They're not the masterminds of like all the evil in human history. They're just pawns. Epstein was a pawn. Bill Gates is a pawn. Elon Musk is a pawn. Trump is a pawn. They're employees. They're just, regular people taking over the shift. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, he wrote something in the Bible in a letter to a church in Ephesus. And look, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian. It really doesn't, because what he says affects you whether or not you believe. Because you don't have to believe in this stuff for it to be real, because what Paul talks about, what I'm about to say, it's real whether or not you believe it. So just listen to what he's saying, because in the context of what he's saying, it should reframe your view, your worldview about these people, about everything you read, about everything that's in the news, and about what's actually happening and why the trash hasn't been taken out, why the trash is to the point now where it's piled up so high that people can't take it anymore. Well, Paul told us that everything in this world, all of our battles, is not against flesh and blood. It's not against people. It's not against Jeffrey Epstein. It's not against Elon Musk. It's not against Bill Gates. It's not against any of these people. It's not against the people who have been pushing these secret societies forward for thousands of years. Again, these people are just puppets. They're irrelevant, honestly, because if they didn't exist, it would be pushed through somebody else. The power would be given to somebody else, because Paul says this. He says, it's not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities. It's against powers. It's against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Think about this, guys. This is really everything we need to know about what's happening in the world, what's happening with the Epstein files, and why the world seems like it's crumbling and collapsing so rapidly at this very moment. Read that again. Principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. That's a hierarchy. That's a chain of command. And every one of those things listed right there is a spiritual entity that's been operating behind the scenes of human history since before the flood of Noah, right? Since the very beginning, when the Nakash tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden. Because when she accepted that, that's it. Everything changed because of Eve, all right? So behind every Jeffrey Epstein, there's a spiritual power. Behind every secret society, there's a principality. Behind every island, every encrypted conversation, every network that protects these pedophiles worldwide, right? The network that the governments can't touch. There's a ruler of darkness who's been running that whole thing from behind the scenes since before you were born, since before civilization even existed. These things are the ones who are pushing this whole thing forward. It's a spiritual problem. Okay, they use people like Epstein as a host, and that's it. If it wasn't Epstein, it would be somebody else. And the Bible makes it clear that not only is this a spiritual battle, but the earth itself, our society itself, is going to get progressively worse and worse and worse until it reaches a point where it can't get any worse, where everything's corrupted, and there's only one solution at that point. And you know what that solution is. It will happen. But when? Put it in the comments. When do you think? So, bottom line here, guys, that's the machine. That's the machine that never gets turned off. That's the machine that's producing all of this garbage that's piled up around the world. This garbage is piling up because the machine is never turned off. It's a spiritual machine. It's not human powered. Humans just carry the water, right? Humans are think of it like an AI, and we're just the robots. The AI is the one controlling these robots, the dark side, and they have been since the beginning of time. But here's the thing, guys, because nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about the part that I'm about to say. And this is the part that I really want to get through to you guys, because yeah, evil is real. I mean, it's real. It's not a concept. It's not a metaphor. It's not something people say to scare kids in church. No, these people actually worship Satan. And if they perform rituals, if they actually believe there is a spiritual power giving them advice, giving them, spiritual power and protection and wealth and all of these things, all of these worldly things in exchange for what they do in these private rooms on those secret islands, if they believe that, if they actually believe that there is a spiritual power, which they do, well then, what does that mean? If there is a spiritual power on the dark side, that means there's a spiritual power on the light side. That means there is two sides of the coin. There's the left-hand path, which takes you to all the spiritual powers that are classified as evil. And there's a right-hand path that take you directly to Jesus Christ, to God himself, right? So which path do you want to be on? Do you want to align yourself with the left-hand path? Do you want to align yourself with them, with the powers of darkness? Do you want to align yourself with the people who are doing these terrible things in secret islands? Or do you want to align yourself with the only good thing in existence? Because everything good comes from one source. There's nothing good in this world that doesn't come from the Lord. Nothing.
Amen to that.
And look, guys, you can't have one without the other. If the darkness is actually organized, like we just talked about, and by all accounts, they think it is, they believe it is, well, then what does that mean? It means they're organized, but so is God. The other side is actually more organized and a million times more powerful than this side. And people might be saying, well, if the good side, the side of God, is so powerful, why does it seem like the satanic side is winning? Well, that's purposely done. It's allowed to happen to sift out the wheat from the tares. It's allowed to happen to, I think anyway, maybe I'm wrong, but to kind of test people and say, given all the things that this world is involved in now, all of the things that are happening in this world, given all this, giving all these influences that a person has on their life, which side will they choose? Because it's up to them. You have will. You can choose the good side, or you can choose the bad side. That's your decision to make. But the thing is, guys, if Satan, if these dark powers, if these secret societies, if these elites, if they believe Satan is real, if it's real enough for these people with, $1 billion, if Satan is real enough for them to build this like 6,000 year long infrastructure to like support him, right? This trash piles. If it's been a continuous building up of Satan's kingdom over the years, think about it. If Satan's real, then God is real. So all of these things are real. And it really comes down to which side do you want to align yourself with? Do you want to align yourself with the dark side or the good side? Because they're not just real, right? This is a war. This is a war that's been waging since the garden, since before the garden. This war is waging the war, and we are in the middle of it. So you have the choice. You have your own choice to decide, where do you want to be in this war? Because there is a winning side. And spoiler alert, the winning side does not belong with Satan. It belongs to Jesus Christ, obviously. And I know that didn't even have to be said, but some people might be like, well, Satan's going to win. No, that's the dumbest thing. Anybody could say Satan isn't that powerful. He is a weakling compared to Jesus anyway. So that begs the question, right? What can we do? What can you do? What can I do? What can any of us do when we have this information like just jammed in our face all the time? Do we let it get us down and be depressed and be, oh, woe is me, the elites win, the Satanists win? Or do we use that as spiritual energy to focus more on God so we can actually go to war against the kingdom of darkness? These spiritual battles, they must be fought. And you and I are the soldiers. Because if this is a spiritual war, then the battlefield isn't, it's not in the Epstein files. It's not on Signal and those encrypted messages. It's not in Washington, D.C. It's not on some island. It's here. It's in your heart. That's the spiritual war. Where is your heart aligned right now? Because Paul lists the fruits of the Holy Spirit. And honestly, I'm going to list them right now. I'm asking you to look deep in yourself and be honest with yourself. Do you have these fruits? Because it's okay if you don't. Because honestly, it's easy for these fruits to kind of get pushed aside and the other fruits to bubble to the surface. Since we're all sinners, since that's our true nature, we do have a general tendency to push the good fruits away. We do have a tendency to embrace the darker fruits, right? That's our human nature. And the only way we can reject those and focus on the fruits that actually matter is through God himself, right? So Paul lists the fruits. So the fruits of the Holy Spirit, they're love, their joy, their peace, it's patience, it's kindness, it's goodness, it's faithfulness, it's gentleness, and it's self-control. All right? Think about that. Peace, love, joy, patience, self-control, kindness and goodness, and faithfulness. Do you have those things? Is that how you act most of the time? Are you filled with joy and love and gratefulness? Are you gentle? Do you have control over yourself? How strong is your self-control? Because it's easy to have self-control sometimes, but all the time? That's the battle that we're in, right? And just be honest with yourself. How many of those things are in your life right now? How many do you believe you have? Are you actually living in the fruits of the Spirit? And again, if you're not, that's okay. I get it. This world is really dark and it's hard to do sometimes. But you have to understand there is another list. And because the other side of the list is the list that most of us, we feel it creeping into our lives a lot of time. And sometimes it even takes us over, right? And I know, just speaking from experience, the other side of the list is the one that we constantly have to fight against and recognize. We have to examine ourselves for these other fruits, the darker fruits, because when they make an appearance, they must be squashed immediately, right? So what are the fruits of the other side? You'll recognize them because they're everywhere. They are what our society is made out of, right? This is what is pushed to us every single day. So the fruits of the enemy, the fruits of the devil are what? Sexual immorality, hatred, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, envy, drunkenness, discord, idolatry. Think about that. Fits of rage. Do you ever get road rage? Have you gotten road rage before? Do you get mad when somebody's driving 10 miles under the speed limit in the left lane, in the fast lane? When you're trying to get somewhere and somebody's holding up traffic and you can't get to where you're going on time because of this person. Do you get rage? I know I have. I definitely have. Envy. Do you see somebody like, I get it sometimes. I don't have a house. I have a family. I live in an apartment. I would love to have a house. I see all these beautiful houses all the time. And I'm just, man, these people are so lucky to have a house. I wonder if I'll ever have a house someday. I would love to provide a house for my family. I get envious of that. There's just so many things like, what's the other one? Jealousy. I think envy and jealousy kind of link together a little bit. Sexual immorality. Look at the society that we live in today. It's pushed on us everywhere, all the time. And if you're a man, it's a constant struggle. Idolatry. And idolatry is not just, worshiping something as God. It's if you put something, a physical item or a spiritual being, right? Anything. If you put anything above God, that can be classified as idolatry. And what about hatred? Do you hate people? Do you hate the liberals? Do you hate the people who are doing these things to kids on Epstein Island? Because I sure do. So, I try not to hate anybody. I really try, but I feel it. When you look at it like that, the people that you claim to hate, it's not about the flesh and blood. It's not about the person themselves. It's about the spiritual power working behind that person. So when you look at it like that, we don't really have room to hate the person because they're just being influenced. Hate the spiritual power. Hate the thing that's behind them. Hate the thing that's actually motivating that person to do the thing that they did, because the flesh and blood is weak. And without Christ, they're just willy-nilly, easy, do whatever they want to do, whatever is influencing them, whatever thought they have, whatever impulse that they feel, they're going to act on it. And a lot of time, those impulses aren't from them. It comes from something else. It comes from another realm, the spiritual realm. So these people aren't necessarily to blame. It's the other side, right? So that's where we are. It's a spiritual battle. And if some of these hit home to you, that's fine, because they hit home to me too, right? I mean, I've had road rage. I've had road rage before, and I'm ashamed of it. I try not to have road rage, and it's like a constant battle. Well, one thing I found that works randomly is like just give yourself, if you're trying to get somewhere, give yourself like 30 minutes extra time, 15 to 30 minutes, leave way, way, way early, and just tell yourself, I'll get there when I get there. You're not trying to rush. You're not trying to be upset because somebody's going 10 under the speed limit. Just let it happen, right? And I know this isn't about road rage, but I'm just using that as an example. Because bottom line, guys, here's what I'm saying, right? If you find any of these fruits growing in your life, any of the fruits of darkness that I just identified, then you've just identified the enemy, the real enemy. It's not Epstein. It's not Ghislaine Maxwell. It's the principalities that are running the machine. The real war is the spiritual war. The one that you actually can fight is the spiritual battle. It's the battle of the darkness inside of you. And that's our everlasting battle that we will never defeat, right? Because the only way to defeat that battle is through Christ. And the only way that battle will ever be totally defeated is at the end of time, when Christ takes all the evil in the world and smites it, removes it, takes evil out of the equation. Then we can finally take a deep breath. There's no more evil. But until that time, evil will persist, and it will constantly be a battle that we have to face. So identify it, name it, and go to war against it, battle it, because the evil will flee in the name of Christ. It might not flee permanently, which it probably won't flee permanently. It will come back. But just watch it, because when it comes back, be ready for it, because you're going to win. If you're vigilant, if you're sober and vigilant, and looking out for the enemy who is looking for souls to devour, if your defenses are up and you're wearing that armor of God, well, then you don't really have to worry about much. But it's easy to get lulled into a false sense of security, especially in this world that we live in, because that's the war, right? That's the real war that we face on a daily basis. This is the war that's been raging for eternity. And this is the war that we must keep fighting as long as we're alive. And yeah, we can rely on Christ as much as we possibly can to fight those battles with us, but not for us. He's not going to fight them for us, but he will fight them with us. Because bottom line here, guys, and I know I said bottom line like 10 times, I don't even know, but bottom line here, guys, is it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter like who the people in power are. It doesn't matter how many like encrypted messages or encrypted channels were sent behind the scenes. It doesn't matter any of that, right? The only thing that matters is this war, this spiritual battle that you face on a day-to-day, because you can affect it. And in the end, evil does lose. Evil will lose. It does lose. It's going to lose. And we just have to try and like persevere through it until that day comes. Whether or not we see that with our flesh and blood eyes, who knows? But we will see it eventually with our spiritual eyes, with our flesh and blood eyes. It doesn't matter, because it will happen. The day will come where people are vindicated and the enemy is totally destroyed, eliminated, annihilated, finished. All right. When that day comes, you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what? I tried. I tried as hard as I could to fight these battles. I tried. Was I perfect? No. Did I fail? Yeah, I failed a lot. But I recognized when I failed. Not only did I recognize it, I focused on my failures so that I may learn from them. Because you can fail a million times in a row, but if you don't learn from that failure, you're going to keep doing it. Learn from that failure, move on. Fail next time. Learn from that failure, move on. And use these failures as a stepping stone up and out of the darkness. So yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, guys. I think I'm just kind of ranting at this point. I think what I'm trying to say is, yeah, the Epstein files are bad. The Epstein files are super dark. They can be super depressing if you look at it that way, but we have no effect on it. These people are going to keep doing what they're doing. No matter how angry you are, no matter how angry people are in general, it's not going to do anything. People don't care. People are going to move on. The news is going to move on. These people are going to forget about it. Nobody's going to be prosecuted. So you can either accept a defeat, right? Oh, they won. Why even care about anything? Why should I follow the law when these people aren't following the law? Why should I do anything good when there's so much darkness in the world? What does my one good deed do? What does it matter? Or you can recognize that you don't have control over this dark side. You don't have control over any of the things that happen. But what you do have control over is your life. Only thing I can control is my life. I don't have control over the big picture. You don't. Nobody does. Don't let this get you down. Don't let this change who you are. Don't let this take your light away and squash it. Don't let this stomp out your flame, okay? Let this bolster you, make you stronger, and make you more vigilant so you can recognize these things in your everyday life. Because when it comes down to it, this war, the spiritual battle that is being faced, that is being fought throughout all of humanity, it comes down to the individual person. So yeah, just be a good person, okay? Align yourself with God. Help people. Love your neighbor. Just kind of be an awesome friend to people. Just, be cool. Make somebody smile. But just take this opportunity to like make your life better and the people around you's life better too, because that's the only thing we can do. You can focus on the darkness or you could focus on the light. And remember what they say. If you look too deep into the abyss will look back. So I just want to thank you all for watching this video. I know it's kind of a random rant video, and if you didn't like it, I apologize. If you did like it, just go ahead and hit the like button, add a comment, share the video. But I don't know, guys, just kind of wanted to get that off my chest because everybody's freaking out about the Epstein files and how nobody's getting prosecuted. So I don't know if I portrayed that clearly enough. Who knows? If this video wasn't good, I apologize. Next week's will be better. So thank you guys for watching this video, and we will see you next time. God bless you all.